Potato, do a little talky talk for the audio balancey, please.
Hello, this is Fried Potato coming to you live very early in the morning.
You can go.
Oh, awesome. Sorry about that. Hello, my name is Hebinks, and we are getting ready to go for the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest Randomizer race. I am joined by Fried Potato. Sorry about the delayed interaction, chat. How you doing, Potato?
I am doing very well, excited to be here for Questing for Glory to watch this wonderful Mystic Quest randomizer race.
As am I. So tonight, what are the chat going to be watching? Because there's going to be 4 screens. They're going to be watching one of them at a time, I imagine. But what are they going to be seeing on those screens?
So, some interesting flags. If you are familiar with Mystic Quest, Rando, or Vanilla in general, we're going to have an Overworld shuffle. We're going to have only 2 available companions. We're going to have Kaylee and Tristram tonight. We're going to have random starting weapons, shard hunt, so they are going to need to check some extra boxes. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what shows up early and what the racers have to tackle.
Yeah, I think one of the highlights of tonight's settings is going to be the quest system, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I think we are about ready to get going. So if you want to count it down with me,
Definitely.
in 3,
2,
2,
1.
1, go.
Heck yeah, good luck to the racers. Yeah, so as you mentioned, we have the quest system. So the companions are going to require some additional duties to get them leveled up as the runners go through the seed. Some things that may be on path and some things that might be a little extra.
Yep, and if we want, we can go ahead and go over some of those quests right now. So, the quest system gives our partner levels 4 tiers essentially. So all of our partners will start at level 7, and then they'll jump up roughly about 6 or 7 levels every time they level up by completing one of those 4 objectives. For this race tonight, we have, I believe it's 1 easy objective, 2 medium difficulty objectives, and 1 hard objective. So for Kaylee here, which it looks like we started with, to level her up, our runners need to clear 5 battlefields, defeat the Minotaur, visit the Chocobo in Windia, which they'll need Dragon Claw for, and then save the Crystal of Wind. Tristram is our other partner, so our runners will need to clear the Mine battlefield, which will be marked on the overworld with a little exclamation mark, so our runners know which one's which, because they've been shuffled. Of course, this is a randomizer. And they'll also need to defeat 2 mini-bosses, any 2, save 2 crystals, and defeat Dullahan, which is included in that mini-boss count. So if they take out Dullahan and 1 other mini-boss, that's 2 Tristram levels right away.
Yeah, this is honestly, these 2 companions aren't the ones that typically spark joy in these settings, but these quests are pretty primo for getting, them leveled up without doing a lot of extra work, outside of the norm. Sometimes you see things like 40 refreshers or a bunch more sky shards than you're going to end up needing to get to the seed, and you just know you're never going to do that. But in this case, I think both level 4 companions are potentially, on the table.
Indeed. And speaking of things being on the table here, with Overworld Shuffle, anything can really happen here. Just like Tristram handing out mega grenades, as we just saw 10 get there. A very, very nice find at the beginning of the game. Really quick, did we want to go over go mode items?
Definitely. So the runners are going to need the Captain's Cap and the Thunder Rock, both of which don't gate, other checks necessarily. The Cap, lets you on the boat at the end, and the Thunder Rock opens that rainbow bridge. They're also going to need the Dragon Claw, the Mega Grenade, and the Mobius Crest, I believe.
Indeed. Because they'll need a way to get to Mac's ship after they free it from Spencer's Cave. We've also added some quality of life stuff here for the runners here. So with the quest expanded, settings, we wanted to give our partners a little bit more juice than they normally have in the vanilla game. If you remember correctly, Tristram's not exactly great in vanilla Mystic Quest. He's fast, but aside from that, he really doesn't have a lot going for him. He's got a bit of a surprise for us in the questing objective expanded tier settings that we have tonight, though. So if you max out Tristram, which is complete all 4 of his quests, he gains access to the Flare spell, which for anybody familiar with Mystic Quest knows that is the most powerful spell in the game. So you will have a fast boy with like fire resist, but he will also be able to cast Flare very quickly. So I'll be interested to see who our runners take to the end tonight.
Definitely, there's something to be said for either one. You know, Kaylee, you can even take at level 3 and probably be, or at her tier 3 without leveling her up all the way, because Meteor's not particularly necessary for the Dark King fight. And she gives a lot of safety. But Tristram, you know, exit early and pack in a big punch if you get him that 4th quest, which Dullahan is typically what you look at as that 4th quest, and Tristram sort of makes that fight free. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Tristram at the end. Or, you know, depending on how the seed lays out, it could be faster, and, you know, Kaylee 3 is just kind of what you go with.
Yeah, and speaking of going with options here, 10 is our first runner to clear out Bone Dungeon. Tonight, the chests are shuffled amongst their vanilla locations. So if you're familiar with the original Mystic Quest, all of our key items will be shuffled where they normally are location-wise in the vanilla game. River Coin, gotten from defeating Rex, and Multi-Key, those could be huge. But there will be no key items shuffled around brown box locations tonight. However, our runners will need to get 24 shards of the Sky Coin to progress to the final boss of the game. Unfortunately, the Dark King got wise to our plan and shattered the Sky Coin. So in order to reassemble that, we need to collect 24 pieces of it, and those pieces are shuffled amongst the brown box locations. So you'll see them show up as red chests. That's our visual indicator for the runners that, hey, this is a shard. And that way they'll be able to tell at a glance instead of having to check every brown box in the game. That would be a little rough.
Yeah, that would take significantly longer, I think, and not something the runners would probably be keen to do. Although, you know, I know that the runners are a fan of, you know, some of the multi-worlds and other settings that have, which, you know, sometimes checking all those brown box locations is required depending on the settings. Just not tonight, really.
Indeed. And it looks like, well, in step with each other, Hatox and T are about to go take on Rex. Meanwhile, this dude speaks, also making his way to Rex, while 10 moves on to the battlefield here that is required to level up Tristram. I think, honestly, smart move, but this could be a rough battlefield.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of the nicer ones. Generally, right before the Mind is sort of the meanest battlefield over in the Fireberg area, and having to take it on here. He does have those mega grenades, but because we also have script shuffle on tonight, the enemies are going to unleash some abilities that he may or may not be anticipating.
Indeed, and yeah, that script shuffle is applying to every enemy in the game. So your regular trash mobs, your mini bosses, your bosses, and yes, even the Dark King himself. And Rex, given the business to some of our runners here, he did not have a very friendly moveset with Corrode Gas on the table. And it looks like 10 has abandoned that level up quest for Tristram. Honestly, I don't blame him with that triple salamander setup there, but it looks like Hatox has cleared the boss. It looks like Ipsty cleared. I imagine this dude speaks will be coming up here soon. Very interesting to see the runners take on this Rex fight without going to the battlefield first to try to level up Tristram to get that instant life kill. But I imagine it was just kind of like, I have access to this now, brain, so let's just get it done.
Definitely getting the bombs inside Bone Dungeon. I think I'd make the same play. Just, you know, that's the one thing you need to complete the dungeon, and the mega grenades are generally enough power to sort of, you'd hope, make the Rex fight, you know, somewhat easier than this dude speaks is running into right now. But yeah, it is definitely something to be said, right? You'd save a lot of time getting a level on Tristram or Kaylee and being able to instant kill the boss with the life spell. It's definitely a strategy I'm sure the runners have been keeping in mind as they practice these flags.
Yep, and in terms of strategy here, the Overworld Shuffle has been very kind to our runners here and given us a very opportune key item check here with Phoebe. Now, if, some eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that we went to talk to Phoebe and she just kind of ghosted us and walked on by. That's because we are running a partner lock seed tonight as a reminder, so that means our runners will only be able to use Tristram and Kaylee in the party. If they talk to Ruben or Phoebe, what's going to happen is they are going to be sent to their key item check location. So in this case, Phoebe was sent to Wintry Cave, which was conveniently positioned a couple tiles away from Libra Temple, and then our runners will go and talk to her in the cave, get a key item from her, and then she will move to the Windy Inn to taunt you that you can't use her this run.
Yeah, usually you're looking for Phoebe to take into the Dark King. She does come with the most damage typically, and the safety that sort of Kaylee can provide in this particular flag with, being able to switch her to auto for cure and life strats, but not available this evening.
Can we talk about the jerk move of Otto's neighbor here? Literally selling for profit the item needed to go rescue his daughter with the Rainbow Road for money. How rude.
Definitely a little bit rude. It's right next door. You could just take it over to him. But no, you're going to hold out and make us pay for it. Speaking of, I don't believe Tin had the money when he stopped in to afford it yet. So he's going to have to remember that that's there in return once he has the requisite 300 gold to spend.
Yep. Thankfully, if you are missing a check or you feel like you're missing a check, I feel like Bender's is one of the first options a lot of people check into, just because, it is kind of easy to forget that you've spent money. Ooh, 10 doing something very interesting here. So keep an eye on 10 on the bottom left-hand side of the screen here. What he's doing, it looks wasteful, but he's setting up for a glitch that we do have enabled within the randomizer. We have patched out most major glitches in the randomizer, so you can't underflow cure the Dark King anymore. That's been removed. So they will actually have to fight Dark King, but what he's setting up for right here is called Gin Skip. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be happening on your screen, and we'll kind of talk about it after the fact.
Makes me so happy to see him doing this right now. Oops.
Well, I think if he uses one more time, could get out of that.
So, in theory, if he was one square over, he would have found himself right above the doorway and been able to just walk in behind Jen. Now, if he wants to do it, he's going to need to drain his bombs again, because you can only do this without having any actual mega grenades in your inventory slot. But it stores that elevator, the conveyor belt motion, and allows you to sort of skip through the back wall there. There are some chests there, as well as, Ruben's dad's hiding back there waiting for those megas to free him. So it's definitely going to get you some stuff done without having to defeat that boss. It's just, it's sort of that payoff. Do you decide to do it at this point? I definitely think it's the right way to approach it if you want to get back there, since taking down Jen would be quite a feat.
Indeed. And so I believe the way it works is essentially after using the mine cart bucket to drop down, because you have no mega grenades, the last used animation is stored in memory. And because the minecart bucket drop was used, essentially that overwrites the mega grenade throw animation, because there are no mega grenades to throw anymore, and it allows our runners to essentially use it at will until they leave the dungeon, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep, he just showed it off there a little bit as well, letting him skip past Jin on the way out as well and just go on his merry way. We also see he's saving a tiny little bit of animation time every time he needs to use those mega grenades to open up some overworld or map check. It's not going to do the drawing time of actually throwing the bomb out, but it will activate the triggers on the other side. So going to save some time potentially. I mean, clearly not having to fight Jin. And then put whatever else time the bombs save him over the course of the seed.
Yeah, my big concern here is we've seen on T and Hatax's screen now, Sandcoin is locked behind our free calamari, aka Squidite here. So going in that order and removing one of your key damage pieces could be detrimental. We'll see if it plays out for 10. Hopefully he's able to power through this with a couple magic spells that he has available to him. But
Yeah,
we will see.
sacrificing your mega grenades early is definitely a call, right? They are. We do have, I think, the giant axe available. Oh no, that was on Kaylee, so I'm not sure. Yeah, what other options the runners really have for damage that he is going to have to try and figure out how to do without. He could open some brown boxes and hope for some bomb refills. Those are in the pool.
Yep. But it looks like spell wise, he has Meteor and Arrow. So 2 very high level spells. I believe Meteor's only going to do half damage on Squidite. If I remember correctly, he has Earth Resistance. But even still, Meteor is Meteor. So, 800 damage. Not anything to sneeze at.
No, those are very good spells to have, obtained. Arrow, the best black magic spell available to the runners, and definitely dishes out plenty of damage, and you get the extra charges of that since it's, the lower sort of tier of magic.
Yep, unfortunately, our runners have not found a seed chest yet, nor have they been able to defeat Dullahan to free the seed vendor in Windia, or found Fireberg to purchase seeds from there. So they are really going to have to be frugal with their spell charges until they find a way to restore them freely. They could go all the way back to Foresta and sleep in the dab bed, as we lovingly call it, but that would take a ton of time. Meanwhile, speaking of time, it looks like Hatox is doing the opposite order of 10, clearing out Squidite and then setting up for Mega Grenade glitch here.
Yes, it looks like 10 may have decided he may have bounced off of the squid.
Ooh.
Without those mega grenades, it's definitely not a free fight that it could be otherwise, just having that guaranteed AoE damage. The mega grenades still miss, and there's no resistances to be involved there, so.
Yeah, and it looks like, just basically bouncing off of that is going to cost 10 some time here. I am wondering if he's going to go back to Foresta at some point to refill those spell slots charges that are missing.
Could be, maybe he remembers where there was a bomb box as well somewhere that he's going to go farm up, or just clear out some other places that he maybe didn't check thoroughly, and then head back for that free refill. You love to have it available to you, especially since you haven't found Fireberg or any seeds yet. So
indeed. Get a question in from the chat: why aren't they duping seeds? Which is an option. That is a glitch that's available in the randomizer right now. Unfortunately, runners just haven't found any from what I can see. We did get a refresher box over there where the Reuben's dead, but I don't think anyone's been lucky enough to stumble upon the free seeds, as we lovingly call them. Blessed may they be. I love
they're definitely nice when you can find them, and they've got plenty of options available to convenient places to sort of dupe them if they do find them. I know it does look like 3 out of the 4 runners have that Sandcoin access, so if Fireberg's over in the Aquaria region, they could just fork over some cash for them. But once you find those free ones, you start considering duping them.
Indeed. It looks like Hatox opting for Dabbed because he has not stepped into Aquaria yet to see what's available there. But while he was there, he did have Tree Wither, so he sent Kaylee's mom, not Kaylee, over to the Minotaur check. That's another change that we've made in the randomizer chat, is essentially if you have shuffled Kaylee's position, we understood how difficult it could be to get her to her objective checks, which is the Minotaur fight and Windia Inn. So in order to combat that, we have the option on the randomizer site to make it to where all the checks are done by Kaylee's mom. So if you talk to Kaylee's mom with Tree Wither, you'll send her to the Minotaur fight, and you can then proceed to take on the fight with any partner there. And then once you give Kaylee's mom the elixir, she will then move to Windia Inn to get the second item check available that you would normally have to get from Kaylee.
It's a fantastic change, and important in these settings, really. With only 2 companions, you can find yourself in a situation in which you're forced to complete some of the game without one if Kaylee were to take off after you did the Tree Wither check. And so, to avoid that, her mom kindly goes and does it for us. So
Interestingly enough, Tristram handing out a key, not the one he gives out in vanilla though. Normally he gives us the multi-key, but tonight he gave us the Venus key, which we will need to check a couple of key item location checks, and Dragon Claw for sale. So money routing, even more important in this run. Not only will our runners need to make sure that they have 500 GP for that Dragon Claw that's required for Go mode, but you know, money is going to be huge in getting them the seeds they need to finish out this run here. Flare available in the Aquaria Focus Tower check. The Aquaria seems to be the place to be tonight.
Yeah, Firebird, Flare, Seeds, the Dragon Claw. This is a pay-to-win seed so far. You know, they had to purchase the Thunder Rock. They're going to have to purchase the Dragon Claw. I'd be interested to see what the final vendor shop has, and it would be very funny if it is either the Mobius Crest or the Captain's Cap at this point.
Indeed, take your bets on the loot box RNG now, chat. Meanwhile, it looks like this dude Speaks is taking the Alive Forest dive. Gonna go ahead and check the Giant's Axe chest. Does not have Dragon Claw though, so can't fully do Tree. But honestly, Tree is not the place you want to be, just because unless you're farming for shards, it only has one key item check. But you know, shard density is a valid reason to check Tree location, at least this bottom floor here.
Oh, definitely. It's a quick little stop in to see. There's 4 boxes here on the first floor. You can peek pretty quickly to see if there's shards. Well, several in the forest on the way to it. And yeah, the runners, I don't believe anybody has a sword yet either. So the tree's sort of off limits, but not a sad thing. You don't want to have to go through the tree for a key item, because like you said, there is only the one, and it's at the very end. It's even further than the end of the dungeon, let's be real. You have to beat the boss and then backtrack back to the beginning of the dungeon to get the box. So it is perhaps the longest single key item check in the game.
Indeed. And if I'm reading T's tracker correctly, he found a sword somewhere and he just got the sun coin. So with the Windia region open now, I imagine Ice Pyramid is either here in Fireberg. Yep, it's here. The world's his oyster right now. He can literally go anywhere. He's got Dragon Claw, he's got an axe, he's got a sword, and he's got mega grenades. So
first stop, visiting the Chocobo. I approve.
Yep, for that quest. But the paralyzing freedom of choice here, we'll see where where T takes it.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want this much. Most times, I feel like you don't quite want this much access early because, as you said, everything is on the table. That means, you know, every dungeon could have what he needs, and he has to decide which ones he's going to go looking for that Mobius and that the Captain's Cap. And the Captain's Cap can be pretty much anywhere.
Hatak's getting rewarded for his cunning ingenuity. Arian has the exit spell.
Oh, fantastic. Ten's gonna probably kick himself a little bit since he didn't go back and talk to Ruben's dad. Oh, well, he can't yet because he hasn't beaten the squid, so he'll be happy to see it once he gets there. But yeah, remembering to check those checks that you do somewhere else in the world. Much harder with the entrance or the overworld shuffle for the runners to sort of keep track of those chains of quests, you know, where you had to talk to an NPC in one area of the world and then redeem the quest in another. So yeah, exit going to be a fantastic thing to have. The sooner you get that in a seed, the better.
Yeah, indeed. And I think I'm seeing where T got the sword from. There is an item battleground here at the top of Aquaria with 5 battles. So I imagine while we were checking on some of the other runners, T cleared that out and was rewarded with the steel sword. And to just inform our chat here, the way we can tell that is an item battlefield is when you turn on the battlefield shuffle in the randomizer, it not only randomizes the locations of the battlefield, but if you notice, it'll change their color. So green battlefields will reward you with money, blue battlefields will reward you with a key item, and gray battlefields will give you XP. Now, if you are blue-green colorblind deficient, please don't worry. We've taken accessibility into account with the development of the randomizer, and all the new sprites of the battlefields also come with new images on them. So the item check battlefields now have a treasure chest on the stone marker The XP battlegrounds still have the swords because, it already made it X. And the GP battlefield rewards now have a money bag on them, so you can visually tell. Because we did consider that. It was like, wait, so what if someone's blue-green colored deficient? How are they going to be able to tell the battlefields apart? So we decided to change the sprites for that. Just accessibility. Want to make sure everybody can enjoy playing the randomizer.
It's an important thing.
It is. It's super important. And, we've got a couple comments here in the lovely chat watching the race tonight about the sprites available to the runners. I think we have over 50 different sprites submitted by the community that are available for selection when you load up your randomizer seed. Like, we even have a random button built into the player sprite option. So if you just want to say, give me anything, you have that option. You can also upload your own, if you're talented, you can upload your own character sprite. And load it into your seed from the randomizer website.
There are some very wonderful ones. I love the fact that they also have sort of unique, sort of injured sprites as well. The chicken, I believe, will turn into some delicious-looking fried chicken, perhaps, when he's down, and some of the others. But yeah, the sprites and the options that are available is just one of those wonderful things that you get to experience when you're playing through the randomizer. I love leaving it on random and just seeing what I get.
Indeed. And, back to the race here. I know I love praising the randomizer and all the development stuff. It looks like T is now taking the dive into Ice Pyramid here. Without Magic Mirror, though, not going to be able to see the enemies. They're going to get bumps every time. Doesn't look like they're taking the opportunity to use these bumps to duplicate seeds. But might not be needed. The money might have been good here. Opting
he did
for
have
some
plenty to buy. I don't know if he did buy all the seeds though, but he certainly had enough money to buy plenty.
Indeed. And getting some commentary from the chat here. One of our names is hard to pronounce. I can't imagine which one.
It must be yours.
Yeah, no, it must be mine. My name is Hebbings. And if you want to say yours real quick.
Mine is Fried Potato.
There we go. That way, chat, you know who's talking about what here. But it looks like I think Hatox is going to be our first runner over into the Windia region. So I'll be interested to see what's over here.
Definitely making call to go sort of push forward into the world and see what tiles are over there. We was able to see Lava Dome from all the way at the beginning, but who knows what else is over there, rather than heading back to do Ice Pyramid, as we see T doing.
Yeah, no, he does. I think he turned in. Yeah, he has Thunder Rock. So I believe he did the Thunder Rock turn in. He could just go ahead and free max ship here, get Spencer Cave check done because he does have Venus Key. This could be some very quick progress for Hatox if it pans out. If not, worst case, he's got exit. So he could just warp back to the beginning and head on over to Ice Pyramid and do what T is doing. This is
exactly.
This is very interesting to see some divergence right here.
Yeah, I wonder if the exit spell is sort of what pushed him to continue on, knowing that he could make up any time, lost if he wanted to return. There is a lot to be said about pushing forward and seeing what and where other things are in the world. There's a couple free checks over here that he could get depending on what is available, and he knows what's not. Once you clear this out, you sort of have a better picture of what you might need to do to beat the rest of the seed. You'll know if something weird is locked behind Wakewater that you might need to go get or something like that.
Chat, do you want to melt a snowman? I think I want to melt a snowman. Let's watch T melt a snowman. It's like my favorite thing in the randomizer. So you're gonna see Kaylee swing. That's normal. And then come on. Ooh, so close to the big four.
The ice golem. So the HP thresholds on the bosses are a random variable, so you can see the ice golem go down in one round, especially with flare available, and it's always fun to just see how quickly he doesn't stick around. He's usually, Rex is the easiest boss, so to speak, HP wise, but ice golem, once you have flare, he's just a pushover.
Indeed, it's always cathartic to see that happen. But a steel shield as the reward is not something you want to see. Let's see if the noble armor chest gives anything better for this dive here.
Yeah,
Elixir.
Steel Shield not a reward, although Elixir could potentially be something. We see Hitak's getting ready to beat the Minotaur, I think, if he did the Tree Wither turn in earlier, which will even level up his Kaylee if he decides to go back and get her.
Yeah, I believe he did not send Kaylee's mom on the way, but Cupid locked it from the old man. That's huge. And he did. So here we go. Minotaur, blink and you miss it. Meanwhile, 10 taking on another mini boss somehow made his way over to Doulahan. Not somehow. He was on Firebird? No,
I don't remember where
Aquaria.
Malgale was. Oh, yes. 10, a little late to getting his sand coin because of the draining of the Mega Bombs before facing Squid. But now, yeah, catching up and deciding to make this play. Not surprising. With Tristram, it's practically free. And it will push Tristram that level forward, which will give 10 the exit spell that he doesn't know is also readily available for him right now.
Indeed. Now, the question is will Doulahan have a go mode requirement? If Mobius Crest is behind Doulahan, this will give 10 kind of the edge he needs to get back in the running for the race. Spencer rudely handing out a magic mirror. We don't need. Actually, no. Hitox has not gotten into the Ice Pyramid yet. So
yeah, Hitox rewarded a little bit for going that direction first if he decides to come back and do Ice Pyramid. Although I don't think we saw anything necessarily required out of the Ice Pyramid dive from T.
Not necessarily. There was. I wouldn't even call them goodies. The Steel Shield's not something I would say is great, but Elixir's on the table. And with Tree Wither and Elixir, that makes Kaylee's mom's checks a chain that could be in logic for go mode. For all we know, Kaylee's mom could be holding on to that Mobius Crest. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out. Or Captain's Cap, yeah. She could be holding on to her husband's cap.
I feel like she does that so often to me when I've spent the time hunting down the cap elsewhere and then finally returning to her. And of course, she's had it the whole time. Why couldn't you just give it to him before he left?
Yeah, I'm calling it now. That hat's on that ship. It's got to be Aegis Shield. That's a French vanilla check right there. So for anybody familiar with vanilla, you're like, wait, Aegis Shield check is top right at Doulahan. Why didn't 10 go check that? We've actually moved some of the mini boss chest checks to underneath the bosses. So in Hitox's case right here, we actually moved Medusa on top of the mask chests. And in Doulahan's case, we moved the chest underneath Doulahan, making mini bosses required. Because if you remember from vanilla, you could just kind of walk in, get your loot, and then beat up the mini boss and progress. And that was not very interesting from a gameplay aspect when it came to the randomizer. So our developer Wild Ham was like, no, you have to beat the mini bosses to get their dungeon rewards, which I think is a great change. Personally.
Yeah, no free lunch for those particular items this speed. And you can't even peek them for most of the mini bosses, which is on other flag settings potentially important. There is in this setting, there's only one dud check out there. So you might see a brown box where there is supposed to be a red box, and that's where the sky coin would live if there was a sky coin. But since the runners have to assemble that via the brown box chests that have been randomized, there is one lonely box out there that will trick the runners and not reward them with anything even remotely close to progression.
I'm speaking of progression over here, while Hitox Max wraps up Baldusa on screen here. This dude Speaks has gone in the Lava Dome. Excal for Baldusa reward. They're not something you want to see, but Lava Dome, I did not see if dude was able to get to the life.
I'm not sure either. Hitox, we've had some runners step in, but this first encounter has proven difficult since this is in the windier region. These aren't the usual lava dome enemies that they're going to have to face, but rather ones that are going to be showing up in places like the Zuzu's Tower or the boat. So, maybe a little more difficult than anticipated to get some progress in the lava dome today.
Indeed, but it looks like the extra levels that T had available to him, because he did come to this check later, did help him get through that fight, casting Arrow those ninjas. Got a Knight Sword, so there was plenty of swords to go around for our runners. It was just a matter of which one they decided to get today, and it looks like T might die for Moon Helmet check as well. We're about to see on Speak's screen Lightning, not what you want to see. A
Not,
great
yeah,
spell.
not a joy-inspiring spell, unfortunately. You'd think it would be good. It's just not, especially with what else we have available at this point. Maybe early on in the seed, the runners would have been happy to see that. But right now, they're looking probably mostly for those two, remaining go mode items, and not much else.
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, Kaylee's mom could have one of those go mode items. Hydra's been a gatekeeper, and with these seed settings, a little backstory here, chat. Again, these seed settings are from our Speed Gaming Live 2024 tournament, and during that tournament, there was one gatekeeper, one true menace of the tournament, and that was Hydra. Hydra gating was a real thing during the tournament, and he usually had something really good, and logic forced you to fight him. So I'll be interested to see if he's made a return to showcase for y'all tonight. Just
sure
how
the
mean he
runners
can
are
be.
thinking about it too, just in the back of their head, like, don't let this be a Hydra lock seed, because yeah, it came up so many times, and for whatever reason, Hydra decided to just really bring out the strong abilities and punches or HP pulls in every seed he showed up in, and really just give the runners the what for.
It was so bad, our developer had to nerf him a little bit mid-tournament. So after the first round, there was a hot patch thrown out. It was like, hey, we got to nerf Hydra just a tad. He's too much of a menace. So
Yeah.
that fixed courtesy of this tournament setting here.
Yeah, the wonderful and sometimes challenging part about Overworld Shuffle is that you can be forced into some particularly mean boss fights before you are quite ready for them, level-wise or ability-wise. You never know what you're going to have, and if the first thing that you need to do to get through the seed is beat Hydra, you could be in for quite a bad time.
Yep. Now, I did mention earlier that Tristram has a reward, so to speak, available to our runners if you max him out and do all 4 of his quests. I failed to mention, however, that we've also given Tristram a little bit of juice in terms of giving him another spell in his mid-range. So if our runners do opt to level up Tristram and complete his objectives, once they get Tristram to level 23, he also gains access to the exit spell book. So if our runners had not found exit where Arian is, they could take Tristram and just use exit with Tristram. Another great option, makes him viable. That was our big thing with the expanded spellbook, is we wanted to make some partners a little more viable than they were before.
It certainly introduces a lot more choice to which companions, even without necessarily restricting it to 2, which is another great way to sort of, present interesting challenges to the runners. But yeah, adding that exit spell, exit is maybe the best spell in the game. Some of these runners, I think, would agree, just because of how much time it can save over the course of a run. So yeah, if you have an easy Tristram 2 available to you and an exit that you can get online early, you might be bringing Tristram with you for longer than you would in other seeds.
Indeed, and I'm trying to peek the shard count here for some of our runners here. It looks like Hatox is around 18 shards, so really only 6 more to go here. Thankfully, chat, there was added to the randomizer the ability to see those shards for us commentators on the fly. It used to be that the little shard icon popped up there in the bottom right-hand corner. But now it comes accompanied with a lovely little number, so we can see just how many shards our runners have. Thank you, Wildham. You the best.
Yeah, fantastic quality of life change for both the runners and us commentating and tracking. It's so much easier to not have to go into your menu or keep a manual count of the 24 shards that you're going to need in these settings to get to the final dungeon. Yeah, and the runners look like they have it looks like 19 on Hitox now, getting very, very close to that 24 number. Sometimes you see thin shard count slate, but we've had both Lava Dome and Ice Pyramid, and as well as the tree, sort of the beginning of the tree available, so plenty of places for these runners to have picked up quite a few, it looks like.
Indeed. Looks like Speaks was the only runner who didn't opt to do the Mega Grenade glitch, which honestly, with the power set he had coming into mines, not needed at all. So he just kind of came and looked at Jin, and Jin vanished. So not much of a time sink at all here going in. Although not having exit going in here, because we know that Ruben's dad is holding on to that lovely spell book. You gotta wonder, was he out of spell charges? Was that why he didn't use it to get out?
Right, yeah, he was sitting back there with it the whole time. Maybe he didn't find it until it was under his pillow and he had to come back to bed. To get the spell, he forgot to take it to the mine with him, which is unfortunate because the mine is not fast to get in or out of.
No, it's not. But speaking of places that a lot of runners don't find fast, Tox just found Captain's Cap. That item could literally be anywhere, so it looks like I was wrong. It's not on ship tonight. Boo. It is in Pazuzu's Tower. A location a lot of runners, and especially newer runners, don't tend to like at first, but as you get familiar with the randomizer, you find that P Tower is really not that scary, and it's not too difficult to navigate once you get it under your belt. It's a pretty quick check all in all. Very small floors with stairs connecting them, and there's no longer fights on said stairs, thanks to the option to turn on some dungeon tweaks in the randomizer. So yes, you were not wrong, chat. Ice Pyramid did look a little easier to navigate. That's because that option takes out some of the walls in Ice Pyramid, makes it to where there's no enemy fights on the staircases in P Tower. Just a couple little quality of life tweaks to make the randomizer more bearable to play in return runs.
Yeah, it's very nice. You don't want to have the tedium, unnecessary tedium in the randomizer, and there are a lot of settings that have sort of trimmed that out. And you can turn them off if you want to enjoy a more vanilla experience. You can set some of those things to be the way they were, and a little more perhaps frustrating, as the setting is called, tweak frustrating dungeons. But it's nice to have them removed, especially for race scenarios, just a little quicker to get through some of these places. And Pazuzu's Tower, one of the ones that definitely tripped me up a lot starting out with this randomizer. I'm glad to see that there have been changes to make it nicer than its vanilla experience, that's for sure.
Indeed, and it looks like Hatox went ahead and sent Pazuzu on to their fight location just in case they're needed later. I think a smart move, honestly, because it looks like one of our final bosses, either Hydra or Pazuzu, could be gating Mobius Crest at this point, unless it's Hydra. I saw some folks in the chat mention that Hydra's not well loved either, which I can agree with, having to go all the way up Giant Tree just to fall back down the floor 2 and grab a chest that's locked behind a forest of mushrooms. Not exactly a fun check in my book either.
Yeah, if Hydra was at the beginning of the tree, I think Hydra would be fine. I would enjoy paying Hydra a visit, but right now it's an excessive walk, and there's a lot of potential enemy stops, even on low density settings like we have here. I believe it's 25% density of enemies. There's still so many one wide hallways and areas for enemies to show up there. It can just take so long to get through, and you have to swap between your axe, your sword, and your claw the whole time you're navigating that dungeon.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm noticing something on the screen. Again, appreciating the flare on Golem here, and I'm just wondering how hard would it be that if you chose the cuckoo sprite to make the flare sprites little cuckoos that come out and attack the enemies for our Legend of Zelda fans out there? How hard would that be?
Fantastic.
I honestly, the options in the randomizer are probably my favorite thing, and why I keep coming back and playing it over and over and over again. And everything we've mentioned here tonight, chat, is an option. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can adjust them. I think one of the big things that makes this randomizer what it is the ability to tweak it to your preferred flavor. And I feel like almost every couple of months there's some new setting or new option that's coming out of the pipeline to make me want to come back and play it even more.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's so much variety, and even within the same flag set, because of the way the randomizer works and the way the settings work, it can just be, this one in particular, these SGL 24 flag sets are just enjoyable to run repeatedly because the puzzles you're presented with, because of how the flags interact, are just unique and require, that brain flexing and just figuring out how you're going to navigate what the seed throws at you.
Indeed, and speaking of things thrown at our runners here, we are going to probably see some last checks here in terms of progression. Not finding Mobius Crest We did see Hitox get the Libra crest and go and check Spencer's cave. Unfortunately, there was just an axe waiting for him, I believe, in that chest. So our runners are either going to need to defeat Hydra and check the tile above or to the right of where Lava Dome sprite is, because that's a blue crystal tile. Falls Basin, I think, is what it is, because it's the only location we haven't seen yet that has that overworld spray.
Yes.
So Mr. Krabs could have one of our go mode checks, because we're just missing Mobius Crest, it looks like.
Yeah, I think we have the elixir check potentially out there, so I'm not sure if anybody who's had that has gone back to Windia to see Kaylee's mom. And then, yeah, Hydra and Pazuzu still lingering. And I believe the boat check is also on the table, since the Dragon Claw has been found and the boat. Oh, yes. Oh, no, we need crest. The Mobius Crest.
Yep.
Still to get
so
there.
No
I saw
tonight.
The vanilla Mobius Crest access out of Hitox, because he did find the Libra Crest.
Yep. So we will not, unfortunately, see boat lock tonight. That's probably one of my favorite things, is an item being hidden on the bow of the ship or next to Mac.
Oh yes, boat lock seeds, especially when it is something like the Captain's Cap, are just fantastic.
Yeah, always something that can throw you for a loop, especially if you're not familiar yet with the way the logic works in the game. Because again, like Potato said, you just need the Mobius Crest and the ability to free max ship. So if you don't have Dragon Claw and you have Mega Grenades in the Mobius Crest, Dragon Claw could be on max ship. Totally possible within the realm of logic on the game's part. Something to look out for.
Yes,
but it looks
and then
like
you just hope your cap isn't somewhere Dragon Claw locked that you have to then backtrack to.
Indeed. But it looks like 3 of our runners are in P Tower. But Hitox is the only one doing Lava Dome. I'm wondering how much of this is flavored by his tournament experience.
I wouldn't be surprised that Hydra is going to be his first choice of what he has left, considering how often in the tournament it showed up.
Indeed. And I'll be interested to see if the other 3 runners actually decide to take on Pazuzu. Again, this is their first time in P Tower, so I'm wondering if anyone's going to be of the mindset of let's get this done now while we're here, or if they're also going to do like Hitox did and fade this check for later.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to which floor they pushed him to for the return visit, but it is 3. So not a great floor, not the worst floor, I guess. But yeah, with Kaylee's quest requiring you get the Crystal Wind to level her up to tier 4, and just the possibility of having to come back here anyway, definitely a decision that everybody's going to have to make. Do you just deal with the Jerkbird now, or do you put him off and try to come back? Never.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our runners have Flare and Double Arrow available. The only one who doesn't have Double Arrow available is 10, but he's got Tristram, which shoot element is another weakness of Pazuzu. So,
well, he's also got Tristram all the way up to level 4 already, so Double Flare available for 10 if he wanted to go that route.
Indeed, and yeah, that would make the Reflect phase even easier, given that he's got a maxed out Tristram. So, I mean, this could be 10's return if he decides to take on Pazuzu. If Jerkbird's holding on to Mobius Crest, realistically, that's the only thing gating our runners. But it looks like, no, 10 is fading that one. It looks like also Dude dipped the check as well.
I don't blame him. You don't want to have to fight Pazuzu if you don't, if he doesn't have it, you're saving time. You hope, you fingers crossed hope, but they're running out of places, especially anywhere nicer. It's going to have, the key item that they need, but everybody leaving him behind, it looks like.
I thought I spoke too soon, because 10's back in P Tower.
Oh, all right. Maybe he is heading back up to go down. That is the way you have to traverse Pazuzu's tower, I feel like. Up to go down, down to go up.
Mm-hmm. Did he miss a switch? Because, if he's on floor 2 and you talk to him, send him up, he should be trapped on floor 3. And that's the way that P Tower works, Chad. Is if Pazuzu's on an even number floor, so long as you've hit all the switches, as soon as you talk to him, he can only travel upwards, and then he'll get locked on the next floor. So should be trapped on floor 3. But if
Or
a
maybe
switch
he
was
forgot
missed,
to miss. Maybe he missed the switch on 4 because that's where he's coming back to right now.
indeed. But Hatox wrapping up a lengthy Hydra fight. If this is not Mobius Crest, this is a time sync check. But let's see.
And will he remember that the crab is locked behind this?
Indeed, yeah. No, this could be a red herring for Mr. Krabs. Holding
Those
on.
are the worst Hydra gates, is when it's the tile that's locked and not this check itself, because you get the box, it doesn't give you what you need, and you have that moment of, what did I forget?
Yeah. Bombs. So yeah, no, Mr. Krabs could be our gatekeeper. And to make this even more of a wild chain, Mr. Krabs could be gatekeeping water to make our runners then thaw out Aquaria, then run back to the Aquaria region to then check North Focus Tower with the Venus key check.
Oh, yes, that's true, right? They've got some checks back there, as well as, I don't know what else might be behind Wakewater at this point. I don't think anything else super important could be back there, right?
Yeah, the only thing I'm seeing is Falls Basin and North Focus Tower. So if Wakewater is needed, those are the only two locations that it would be needed for. And with the defeat of Hydra, you gain access to that Falls Basin tile via the route that's made with the lava flow after you defeat Hydra. Oh, we missed it. Someone got Mobius. It was Speaks and T. And I miss where they got it.
Shame. Interesting. Look away for 1 second, and the fight is done, and the item has been gotten.
Libra Temple.
Very nice. All right.
Yep. Hatox hot on their heels. Also, almost exited out in the wrong temple. That would have been awkward.
Pazuzu's tower was required. That Libra Crest was in Pazuzu's tower. Heads up to remembering that they hadn't checked the temple itself. Definitely an easy one to sort of forget about, because it's the only thing there after you pushed Phoebe, and you didn't take Phoebe into your party. So very easy to sort of forget about it. Now, do they have all 24 shards that they need, is the question.
Indeed. And it looks like, Hatox is floundering a little bit, wondering about his levels / partner choice here. So not taking the dive to Dark King quite yet. Meanwhile, T already got his Tristram and is running for the final boss. Now, quick reminder, chat, with these seed settings tonight, our runners will not have to go through the refight floors or do the boss monster refights normally needed for Dark King. This is a stairway straight to the end here, but Dark King is the great equalizer. T could get trapped here if King rolls some nasty RNG. We'll see how this runs. Meanwhile, 10 making that jerkbird check. Go ahead and get your stupid sexy birds in chat now. He's just sitting there posing for you menacingly. We'll see what the jerkbird had behind him.
I hope it's not Wakewater to lead 10 further astray. You'd hope that it's nothing, and then he just remembers to go check the Libra Temple and get his Mobius Crest. I'm trying to look and see what armor situations our runners have. It doesn't look like Hatox has a very good shield for this Dark King fight, which could be a difference maker, since we do have Script Shuffle on for Dark King. So, and he is not playing nice to start. Big crits and instant, I believe that was a stone on Tristram. Paralyzed.
No, paralysis. That's almost worse. And the underflow for Drain has been patched, so unfortunately we're not about to see a KO here. I don't believe.
Yeah, no quick kills on Dark King this evening.
Yeah. We found out a couple patches ago that if Dark King script shuffles in a Drain attack, he could have underflowed himself by draining Ben, and then basically being like, "Oh, I've underflowed my own HP. How cruel of you!" And then you hit him, and he goes down. I believe that's been patched out.
Big hits in Tier 1, although he also has Bone Missile, which is very, very tiny. But those, 1,100 plus attacks, you sort of hope that he's going to drop those as he shifts to the other phases, and you're going to be doing a lot of triage duty throughout this fight.
Indeed, yeah. Hatox now also on Dark King, but with Kaylee, unfortunately 400 HP short of Tristram, and from what we've seen from some of those crits, Kaylee's not going to be able to live through some of those. Tristram was, because of his large HP pool, So I'll be interested to see how this pans out in terms of resistances versus HP count, because Kaylee does have more status immunity than Tristram.
Yeah, she brings a lot of utility that Tristram sort of is going to be lacking. His only real benefit is speed, flare, and some instant death resistance there. But Kaylee, you can flip her to auto too, which just makes this fight a lot less mentally taxing.
Indeed, it is going to boil down to also speed as well. With maxed out Tristram, his speed actually overflows the 99 limit in the stat pool. His speed is 109. So he is the fastest character in the game at max level. We'll see if speed becomes a factor here, though. The large HP pool and the speed are super beneficial, but not having immunities like Kaylee has could be another factor determining how the attack script shuffle puts in status ailments. Meanwhile, 10 finally wrapping up Pazuzu. Let's see what the Jerkbird was gating here.
Is it value? It is not
Gemini
value.
crest, rude. And yeah, Tristram being an actual viable option, I think, was the greatest thing the developers
Especially
of
this
Randomizer made.
seed with the wonderful quests he had. Sometimes, you want to take Tristram 4, but the quests are just awful. And this seed just sort of lined up perfectly to make him, I think, the companion of choice.
Indeed, they gave him exit, they gave him flare. Who's the true form of Dark King tonight? It's Death. Very odd. I love this death sprite. I believe it's from Rondo of Blood or Dracula X. I can't remember. But shout outs to our spriting community who have managed to randomize the true form of Dark King after his Gilgamesh phase. So for our arachnophobes out there, you no longer have to worry about a giant spider being on screen. Now you just have a plethora of randomized options available for your viewing pleasure. And yes, it was Death all along.
It's wonderful, too, because... all right. Well, I won't reveal the secret that I was about to say. But that was Dark King, definitely not playing nice at any point, it looks like, in this fight. So as you said, definitely the decider here.
Yeah, Death comes for us all. And, it looks like Petrify was on the table, phase 3. Kaylee is immune to petrification, chat. So this is coming down to partner choice again. On T's side, he has Aegis Shield. So Ben is the petrification immune partner. Meanwhile, on Hatox's side, Kaylee has the immunity, but Hatox does not have Aegis Shield. So we'll see how this phase 3 comes down. Again, Dark King always the great decider. Always.
Love seeing it, really, runners in Dark King at the same time, and still the Dark King, fight not being free. They made different choices along the way, so they've got some sort of different defensive layers and clearly different companions. And yeah, seeing which one's gonna overcome what Dark King has to throw is interesting.
No, confused Tristram just double flared the party over on T's side.
That's not what you want to see.
No, it's not. Thankfully, he's super fast, so 2 turns you should be able to recover from this. But that's a huge time waste. Meanwhile, Hatox moving on to phase 4 here. We could see the end of Death, but the Cure Drain attack from Dark King phase 2 is in play. So dealing out good damage and doing a lot of healing here. Just a lot of recovery.
Yeah, I gotta stretch this phase 4 out as long as he possibly can, it looks like.
Indeed, and with the triage on the table as well, Hatox is not going to be able to outpace some of that curing a lot of turns. He might have to sacrifice some turns for triage, which is going to give King some time to recover, give T some time to catch up. Spider Kid's also on the table. Good gracious, this King is loaded.
Yeah, bringing the big guns out to play, it looks like here, not holding much back at all for these runners.
No, thankfully, both T and Hatox, very seasoned runners of the randomizer, knowing when to utilize the auto feature of the partner to make sure that, they can prep a life if needed. And down goes Death. GG's to Hatox. He is our winner for tonight's race, coming in at 56.51. Get your GG's out in chat. A very exciting race down here at the end.
Yeah, very exciting companion choice. playing a big role in that final fight. You know, Kaylee not tier 4, but still those extra resistances, specifically petrification, sort of coming into play and potentially keeping him from running into that late phase wipe.
Yep, I don't imagine T's going to let the same scenario happen again, though. Here, I imagine this is going to be hopefully wrapping up for him as well. Meanwhile, this dude speaks also now moving on to the final fight. We'll see them struggle in 10 finally making their way down to Hydra. So we should hopefully see here all 4 of our runners start making their way to the final fight.
Yes, it shouldn't be long now. You know, this dude speaks is right there. 10 will be shortly behind once he finds whatever it is he's missing still, which I think is just that Mobius crest, which we know is behind the Libra temple somewhere out there in the world.
Indeed, and it looks like I'm hoping nothing bad happens to T here, and I don't even want to speak it into existence. But it is a race for second right now.
Oh yeah, we've seen some bonkers stuff happen. Oh, just like that with the Dark King fight. You know, he holds on to certain abilities through the phases, and yeah, depending on what you brought to the table, you can try to just out RNG it. But sometimes, you know, we see people leave and try to shore up whatever they're missing, or just get another level or two if the HP thresholds aren't quite what they want. Although you can't do much for Tristan right now.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's not a bad decision to make. Tristan 4 is, as we've seen time and time again, a solid choice. It just turns out that the script attack shuffler here just really did not roll in his favor tonight. Although, you know, it can be done. I've seen T do some amazing things in some of our tournament runs, in some of our marathon runs. So I know T has the skill to get this done. It's just going to be a matter of, can he also have the luck to get this run done? Meanwhile, this dude speaks also running a level 3 Kaylee. Did not defeat the jerk bird to max her out. But as we saw on Hitox's side, this fight can be done. Honestly, it will give him a bit of a safety net as well, since he also does not have Aegis Shield on his Cuckoo. So,
speaking of Hitox, I think we're joined by Hitox. Good games there.
Hey, hello
sir.
there. GG's.
How did that king feel? Because watching from the spectator seat, that was not fun.
Well, okay, so I had flashbacks to my SGL final run against Farflu, because on the last phase, Spider Kids came out, and like that was the one. Like I think I was 1 or 2 turns away, and then Spider Kids just wiped me out.
Oh man, yeah, no, Spider Kid PTSD is a real thing. And yeah, the death sprite was fitting. He was firing on all cylinders.
But I got lucky a lot during that 3rd phase, where I just was getting blinded constantly.
Yeah, you prefer that over some of the other options of abilities that he could throw out, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially with spells on the table. Unfortunately, a lot of people are like, blind's not a problem. Blind does take away your ability to do Madam or Mr. President strats. So for those who don't know, if your partner or you are blind, you lose the ability to defend. You can no longer defend your partner if you're afflicted with a blind stat. I didn't find that out until I'd been running the randomizer for a while, and I tried to block and it just didn't happen. But yeah, blind does have a detriment. Did that impact kind of your strats at all? I don't think I saw you use defense strats at all this run.
No, I had Flare, and I had all the seeds in the world, and once I got past phase 1, I figured it was easier to just have Kaylee on auto to take care of any of the healing problems, and then just keep on pumping seeds into Ben.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, auto strats, we were commenting on it, and you're no stranger to the randomizer. I've seen a lot of good play in a lot of the tournaments you participated in events. I understand you know how to properly use auto, and you put on a very good showcase for it tonight. But
yeah, how many other people forgot to go to Libra with the crest to get Mobius crest?
Pretty much everybody.
Yeah, everybody forgot. You might have been, although T beat you to it. He did get there first. He has Tristan 4 right now, and he's on the struggle bus, unfortunately, because death has given it to him. But yeah, he actually made it to the fight first, but took a wipe on phase 3. So he's looking to wrap up now. That's time for T. I spoke it into existence, chat. I was trying to get 2 commentators. I was trying to get a blessing and a curse. Thankfully, I rolled both. So GG's for T. Clocking in with a 102. Get those GG's in chat, and we'll see if we can get T in the booth as well. Meanwhile, we're down to this dude speaks on the final boss in 10. Still trying to find the Mobius Crest.
The Libra Crest Temple, because it's one tile north. It's Lava Dome's vanilla location, I believe. So it's not on path when you're walking over the overworld tiles, unless you divert this one tile north right there. Yep, there. Now he's gonna find it.
On the plus side, we did get to see what Mr. Krabs had. It was a Charm Claw. Unfortunate.
Yeah, not the reward you wanted to see. I'm sure Caden's a little unhappy at the moment, having found that Mobius Crest there just hanging out in Libra Temple, since he did do Pazuzu's Tower a little bit ago before he decided to go finish Hydra. But now he's fully up on shards and heading to the boat, and will be right behind this dude Speaks here in just a moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, this race is far from over, though. Speaks is fighting death, quite literally, and it is not a free fight. Speaking of people who have conquered death, we are joined by T. GG's T. How do you feel about that death fight once you get off mute?
Yeah, GG. Well, as you could see, I decided to go with Tristan, and yeah, Stone Breath was not so fun.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would have
glad
been
you
right
did,
there
though.
with you.
I'm glad you showcased the power of Tristan 4. He's kind of become the GOAT of Quest Expanded, especially with his spellbook expanded as well. Very viable options. Unfortunately, just the attack shuffler did not roll in his favor tonight. And it was kind of interesting. So T, you had Aegis Shield. Hatox, you did not. So at least one of you, at least you both had one partner who had someone in the party with petrification resistance. I think otherwise that would have been a very, very, very hard fight.
Yeah, if you don't have either, then yeah, GG. But there's no point. There was no point in going for Tristan. Fortunately, if you don't go to Dullahan and get the Aegis Shield, so at least that was kind of nice in the seats.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No.
I'd rather probably have the petrification resistance onto the partner though, because of the HP pool. Benjamin was one shot, at least for me, of 2 of the attacks he had in the last phase.
Yeah, Dark King was not holding back on the damage amounts tonight.
Yeah, speaking of not holding back, this dude Speaks now finding the death struggle very real, giving 10 even more opportunity to catch up here, picking up on that Gaia armor in the Aegis Shield location, is going to be making his way to the final fight as well. Not too far behind where Speaks is starting, and honestly speaking, phase 1 was no slouch either. This king came out swinging. Phase 1 hitting hard, phase 2 not exactly fun, and then 3 and 4 just giving it to you.
Yeah.
It was a really hard Dark King for this flag set. And the problem with Dark King, when he rolls into these high damaged non-Dark King attacks, is that he can crit, and those crits will probably one-shot 1400 HP KD2, so it's really, the chance of dying are really high, unfortunately.
Yeah, because unfortunately the way that the script shuffler for the attack works on Dark King is enemy attacks that are not Dark Kings scale off HP value. And because Dark King has such an insanely high HP pool, something like Branch that a Treant in the starting area would hit you with, hits you for like some odd 1,000 plus damage because of the way that the balancing, the scaling works on those attacks. I got hit by that so hard in one seed, I literally made a new sprite for Dark King in Gimp that just has him holding a tree branch. That's how awful that was for me. So, yeah, you kind of want to see Vanilla King options, because anything else is just such a wild card and is so powerful on Dark King unless it has some predetermined damage scaling.
Yep, you know how to handle the vanilla abilities, right? The defenses usually take in there. You know how much they're going to hit for. In this situation, it can. I was surprised to see. You never expect the 1,000 plus damage moves to just come out right out of the gate from Dark King, no matter how many times you fight him. I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, T, speaking to your side, thankfully Tristram has the HP to deal with, I think, just about every crit that Dark King can throw at him, even with Mega Flare, because he has fire resistance. So, in terms of HP, I think you were set. It was just the one petrification that got you. But Hatox, I know, going in with Kaylee, she can get KO'd by some of those crits. How'd you feel going in with Kaylee?
I've taken Kaylee to Dark King a lot before, so I felt kind of pretty good. I didn't realize I didn't have the Aegis shield until I did that final safety save, and it was like, oh well, here we go.
Yeah, it's like
But
you're here now.
yeah. I made it. I think TC had said it earlier though, like as long as somebody has petrification resistance, I mean, if you're covered on all of them by at least one person, then it's not bad. The problems come when Dark King has some sort of instant death attack and you don't have a Tristram.
Yeah, and I mean, on screen right now, 10 in This Dude Speaks, putting on basically a reverse showcase of what you two are doing. 10 bringing Tristram 4, This Dude Speaks being Tristram 3, Kaylee 3. They are neck and neck. I mean, 10's got the damage advantage because he's got Tristram 4, but phase 3 and 4 are not slouches, and having the triage available. Oh, dude. He's at 680 HP. It's so rough.
Pretty nicely, I should have to say. Also, 10 went to level 20, so level 20 is basically here the benchmark or the breakpoint where he doesn't one-shot Benjamin anymore. So that's really helpful for safety here.
Indeed, and that is time for 10 coming in from behind and taking third place away from This Dude Speaks, clocking in, I think, at a 109.21. And it looks like, unfortunately, This Dude Speaks has opted to forfeit, coming in last place. But again, on Dark King, the great equalizer. And honestly, I don't blame him, trying to keep the show going since we are getting close to our estimate here. But that is a great showing from all four of our runners tonight. And that King was just brutal. Let's see if we can get 10 and Dude in here for some final thoughts before we throw it over. Back over to the marathon. We are joined by This Dude Speaks and 10 GGs, gentlemen. Joined by This Dude Speaks.
GGs.
I don't know if I'd stay there, but GGs. I don't know if I'd stay there, but GGs.
I don't want to take up too much time, and like I said, we're getting close to estimate here, but I did want to get some final thoughts. We did kind of get a vibe check from Hatox and T, just because of how brutal that King was. I think everybody on stream saw how brutal that Dark King was. And yes, they could not cure Underflow that fight. That glitch has been patched out in the randomizer. So if you decide to take on the randomizer at ffmqrando.net, you too could experience some King pain. But yes, there's some more beginner friendly settings as well, and you can tweak this. So if you feel like that was a little rough or a little overwhelming, don't worry. Not every seed setting forces you into those situations. These are geared more towards more experienced players, like I said, from a previous tournament flag set. But starting off with our winner here, Hatox, how'd you feel about that seed, and any final thoughts?
It was pretty straightforward. I felt really good that the shortcut I took early on in the mine paid off. Getting exit early is always nice because it saves a lot of walking. Glad that we could put on a good show for everybody. I'm super happy to see a lot of people at the randomizer, and good to have a good run with these guys who are also in the earlier tournament.
Yeah, no, definitely a large talent pool here on display tonight for everybody. T, how did you feel? Final thoughts?
Yeah, it was a really fun seat, I would say. Yeah, it was a bit straightforward maybe, but I think we could show a lot of the game, a lot of the things that can happen in the randomizer, so it was fun. And yeah, nice
awesome.
To be here, and yeah, hope see you soon.
Yeah, please join us. There's a Discord link at ffmqrando.net on the left-hand side menu. We'd love to see you guys join in and get on the fun. There's a new player room for people just joining in case you need some resources available. But 10, the final thoughts.
I have as many thoughts as I had during the entire run. Just 0 thoughts. I was lost from the beginning. Like, I wasn't lost. I'd have no clue what happened. Might be the worst performance I've ever had in one of these seeds.
Randomizer happens, man. Don't beat yourself too much. It was Squidite that threw you for a loop, but I think once you got back on track, you got to showcase, you know, the skill that you do bring to the table, and you did make some different routing decisions, and I was happy to see some divergence tonight from all of our runners. So again, GG to you. And final thoughts, dude, I know you had to forfeit, but you were right there at the end. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. The seed was amazing. It was just at DK. It was just too much. That third phase just really got me.
Yeah, it coming in at 680 was bold, and we've seen people do it lower, but unfortunately tonight's king was not facilitating a low-level Ben. So again, huge shout-outs to all the runners tonight, putting this on display for you all. Huge shout-outs to Questing for Glory for having us. Potato, thank you for being my lovely co-commentator while we try to sort out the chaos on screen with the randomizer. Any final thoughts from you before we take it away?
Just my absolute pleasure to be here commentating for these 4 runners and with you tonight here on Questing for Glory. It is my pleasure to be part of this marathon, to get to see all the runs going on over the whole week. I'm excited for the ones we have left, and I hope everybody had, you know, an excellent experience watching this. And as has been said, you know, come check out the Rando, ffmqrando.net, for more Mystic Quest fun times.
Yeah, but that is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you again so much for Questing for Glory. And we are going to go ahead and dip out of here. Have a great night or morning.